7:30 a.m., 103.9 FM, Jocks, Huntsville. This is the Off the Bench College Football Show. I'm your host, Kelsey Huff. I'm Pop sitting opposite of the camera from me. It is February 14th. We are still trickling along in the off season. We're starting to see some spring football dates, finally some spring camp and some spring games, which we thought this time last year that we would be done with spring games.
We didn't think we'd see it again.
Alabama, I think, is April 12th is when they're having their spring game. It looks like it's going to be non-televised right now, but step one is complete. We are back to some much-needed spring football.
Well, I mean, we were just talking off air. Man, I miss football. I mean, it's just like, I love the other sports, okay? You grew up playing baseball. It's just college basketball time right now, right? But
we just had opening day in baseball and college baseball.
It's like, all right, we got to get into these spring sports. A month from now when March Madness is in high gear and we're talking about who's going to make the field of 68 versus 16, 24, or 12. We'll be in it, but man, I missed some football, and it was good seeing the return of Alabama A-Day this week.
It was. I was surprised to see that. I still got to talk Pops to going down there. We'll see what happens with that, how successful that'll be.
I was talking to a guy the other day at the gym, and we were talking about, hey man, if they could fill the stadium, and I think there's other things going on down there at Bryant-Denny that week. And so it wouldn't surprise me one bit if you don't even see half the stadium field, probably just the lower bowl. I think there's a big concert the following week. It might be the Morgan Wallen concert. I might be off there, but hey, nevertheless, we're going to have some football, a version of it. We'll get to see what's going on with the quarterback situation a little bit. I think that from what I hear, the students and the fans really want do not want Austin Mack at quarterback.
It seems like a
Keelan Russell is,
Keelan is expected to be the starter for Alabama come this next season. Speaking of next season, the off the bench verdict today, it's official, and it's been waiting a long time to see this day come to fruition. North Dakota State is moving up to the FBS level. They dominated the FCS. Finally moving up to the Mountain West Conference. A lot of people expected this years ago. They literally dominated. They've had how many national championships in the FCS level? But now comes the bigger budgets, the deeper rosters, and a completely different grind right now. So was the decision right? Yes or no? And tell us why. All right. And let us know on Facebook. Hit us up there, or just tell us right here on YouTube. And we can read it right here. Do you guys think this was the right decision? Personally, we're going to go a little deeper into that later. This is a risky move for North Dakota State because they could be trading success at the FCS level, major success at the FCS level, for some mediocre years in the FBS.
Come on, give me a straight answer, though, Kels. You asked the question, is it? Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, I know we're going to get into this deeper. Mm-hmm. My answer is no. Terrible decision.
I tend to think about this with Pops. I think there's a major downside to this whole operation, but we'll see what happens. We'll see if we go through it. All right. Other things on the agenda today. Charles Bediako officially ruled ineligible. He will no longer be playing at the University of Alabama within basketball. He is out of eligibility. You won't see him again in that uniform. This was a long court case, and now we finally see that maybe the NCAA still has a bite. They finally get a huge win, huge court case. Other things today, Big Ten, there was a leak. Okay, and we say leak with that word lightly. This was purposely put out there to try to gain fan
some momentum, conversation,
some momentum for them. It's been put out there. Pete Thamel released the details of a proposed 2014 college football playoff and what it would look like. We're going to go through that, dissect that, the pros and cons, what I hate about it, what Pops hates about it. Are there some positives to it? From what I've seen on the top of the cake, yes. There's some pros, cons everywhere there. But we're going to get into that a little bit deeper. later as well. And then to top it all off, Trinidad Chambliss coming back to college football next year. He has been ruled eligible by the NCAA.
I mean, I really would love to hear what Auburn fans think about this ruling. I know it's not Auburn, but look, think about who Auburn lost to go to Ole Miss,
Deuce
right?
Knight.
And Deuce Knight and all the accolades around that young man. And then now you have him going to Auburn. He's going to end up being a backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, Chambliss coming back next year. The dominoes are going to fall in other areas. But, guys, it's Valentine's Day. Good morning to start out here as most of the men in the audience get taken away the rest of the day. Man,
you sound like that's a struggle, Kels. What no crawfish today, man?
No crawfish.
You and I don't get to go eat crawfish.
Mardi Gras is here as well today. I know there's a lot of Mardi Gras parades going on around town today here in North Alabama, Huntsville specifically. So yes, I get drawn away from crawfish today, and we live on for another Saturday down the road.
Well, I hope I'm not going to mention the Northern Alabama restaurants where we were last week, but I hope any crawfish anybody has today. I would plug another restaurant that has our best crawfish in town, but and they just said they had crawfish today. So, but hey, that's a whole nother story. I'm not going to damn the ones we ate last week, but they were terrible. And hey, now we get to walk through crawfish season. That's the only bad thing. That's the only good thing with it not being college football right now.
We have crawfish.
It's crawfish season, man. We go from crawfish season to oysters. Man, we should have been living down in Louisiana or something.
Oysters, I don't know, it'd be kind of hard for Louisiana because they're cold water.
But they have oysters in Louisiana
too,
I
get
dude.
That. Yeah, I know. I get that.
Okay. All right, man. All right. We were
off topic again. All right, guys. So today, real quickly, remember to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff on YouTube. You can hit us up right here on YouTube. We're glad to engage with you. It's free to do so if you want to subscribe to the show. We don't ask anything. We're just going to provide you with good things. It's the best way to support the show.
Yep.
Is to like, subscribe, and share and all that good stuff. So, guys, we don't ask much here off the bench. That's the only thing we ask you to do so here. So, the NCAA President Charlie Baker, he put out a statement on Charles Bediako's eligibility ruling, and common sense is kind of how the statement reads. One around today.
I mean, common sense or not, and we can sit there and say that the NCAA finally had a bite in this situation.
Yeah,
but really, it didn't. They're responding like everybody else. You had a judge come in and make a damn decision, lifted a restraining order.
So was it really the momentum that took the stage, and seeing how the public took to this is not the right place for Bediako to be. He needs to be in the G League where he was playing.
You make the decision to go pro. Okay, cool, awesome. And you get all the accolades that come with that. You get to sit in the green room, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're in a G League and you're celebrating, all this stuff. All of a sudden, you're a professional athlete. And wow, you didn't get the playing time, so you want to come back to college basketball, okay, and try to take that piece as well. I mean, because you didn't make it one step further, okay. I feel bad for the young man, but I do think this sets an example for future folks that want to go pro. I was waiting if they kept his eligibility, if that judge said, "Yep, he needs to stay," the dominoes would have fallen into college football. Okay, we would have had these guys that declared that didn't get selected out of the green room, that went in the 7th round, that weren't getting playing time, that all of a sudden were on a practice squad of some NFL team that said, "Well, I got another 2 years of eligibility back there at the University of Alabama," and they would have come back. All right. I just think that set a bad precedence, and I'm really waiting to see. Okay. The committee has said they won't judge those games.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I say the committee, I'm talking about the big dance guys, right?
They've all but taken away those games.
Okay, but dang it. I mean, that's what, 6 games or 5 games, whatever the number was.
Yeah.
3 wins. Okay. If you take those wins away, are they losses or they just don't count? I think that's playing a fine line, and I'm waiting to see what happens with Alabama basketball when it comes time for the big selection show. Where do they set?
They're not necessarily losses. I think you're kind of looking at that 6 game stretch where it's a 0-0. I think is what they're trying to say. Now, for the other teams, though, does it matter those losses that Alabama had?
I mean, yeah,
those teams
they should be wins.
But what I'm saying is, how's March Madness going to grade that? How are they going to look at those games and actually go off those games?
That's going to be the question.
Are we supposed to just act like those games didn't happen?
Do you remember how the conversation was? Did the SEC championship count, right?
Yeah.
Should Alabama be judged? Why is Alabama always in the headlines? Imagine that. But should the SEC championship be judged on a win and loss for Alabama? Well, now you got an ineligible player that was playing 6 different games, whatever that number is. I don't know it off the top of my head. But, I mean, those other teams will be impacted. Their records are impacted by that. Mm-hmm. Those other teams have an L in the loss category. I think it was it Tennessee's coach or somebody's coach like that said, man, that game shouldn't count,
mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden you're also judging, wait a second, if those are just zeros, well, then Alabama played less games than everybody else, So, I mean, I just foresee, I don't know how the committee's going to look at it when it comes time for, the field of 68 for college basketball.
John Little hitting us up on YouTube. Morning, gents. Well, good morning, John.
Hey, thanks for joining us, John.
All right, so Charlie Baker also came out and said the court saw this for what it is, an attempt by professionals to pivot back to college and crowd out the next generation of students. College sports are for students, not for people who already walked away to go pro and now want to hit the undo button at the expense of a teenager's dream.
Wow, so now we're back to the student athlete. Imagine that.
Well, that was the point that a lot of people took, is he's taking away minutes, playing time from young students, young student athletes. It's not, and that was one of my biggest points, is he's coming back to college. John Calipari was talking about this specifically. Calipari's not a big fan of the transfer portal. Yeah. He has never been a fan of these older players. He wants his high school recruiting.
Yeah.
That's the way that Calipari was. He grew up in this game, and that's what mattered, and that's what he wanted to keep that mattered. So his point in all this was, we're going to go and grab a guy that's played professional basketball. We're going to put this 21, 22-year-old, 23-year-old on a 19-year-olds. But yet that little Billy playing on the bench,
who was a 5-star coming out of high school. Well, I mean, the whole Bediako situation would have set up it was funny when all that was going on, because the Kentucky fans were like, well, bring Oscar Tshiebwe back, who led the nation in rebounding, right, for 2 straight years. But yet he couldn't get any playing time in the dang NBA, and he had spent the last 2 years playing in the G League. I mean, imagine what precedence that would have set. And I kind of wonder, would Oscar have come back to Kentucky, or would he have gone to Alabama?
I think he would
have gone to Arkansas with Calipari.
Tshiebwe is Kentucky.
He was
blue and bound.
He was diehard blue.
And a lot of players like that.
Yeah, we also said that what's his face, Shepard, was the same way, and what was it last year? I mean,
he came out wearing half Arkansas, half Kentucky.
Yeah. And Shepard was a born and raised Kentucky boy. His dad was an NCAA national champion in 96, 98. Oh well. All right, we are definitely stepping away from college football this morning. See, I told you we'd get excited about college basketball, Kels.
Yeah, it was coming. It just took a while. Definitely a while, as we're almost in March Madness, but just took that long a while. To win this off, though, he said that we were glad the court upheld the rules. Our members actually want. One win doesn't fix the national mess of state laws. It's time for Congress to stop watching from the sidelines and help us provide some actual stability.
Oh, man.
They're blaming Congress to come in and step in, which is actually the last thing we want for this sport, because if that happens, that's when the NCAA has failed. That's when college athletics has failed, is when you have to have the government come in to provide some stability.
You've heard my opinion on this, and I know this isn't a political show, but I like politicians getting involved in college sports about as much as I like politicians attending college football games, right? It just creates distractions. It makes everything political. Let's just play a game, right? Either you're eligible or you're not eligible. And the NCAA needs to step up and grow a pair and do what it's supposed to do.
Eli hitting us up on YouTube. Speaking of eligibility, Trinidad Chambliss kept whining kept whining till he got a Homer Ole Miss alum judge to give him a 6th season. That was clean language.
Yeah, that's not the language he's using in the on the old YouTube live there in the comments section. But the old Mississippi State fans coming out right there when he's talking about a Homer Ole Miss judge.
Well, Chambliss definitely fought for his eligibility rule, and we're going to go a little deeper on him later, of course.
Yeah.
But Chambliss coming back to college football is the best thing, guys. Y'all react to it. Is that the best thing for college football is for Chambliss to put an Ole Miss uniform on next year?
You think it is?
I didn't say that.
Oh, I must have been in La La Land because I thought you said it was the best thing for college football.
I said, was it the best thing for college football? Now, I have a love-hate relationship with it, but is it the best thing? I think we'll figure out a little bit later.
It creates headlines. It keeps people like me and you talking.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
7:30 a.m., 103.9 FM, Jocks, Huntsville. This is the Off the Bench College Football Show. Guys, we still got a lot to talk about this morning, going for the Big Ten and what their 2014 playoff looks like. We're going to dissect that whole thing a little bit later. Of course, the Trinidad Chambliss hearing and how that went as well, as he is ruled eligible to play college football next year. So we are going to take a quick break real quick. This is the Off the Bench College Football Show. We'll be right back. 7:30 a.m. 1039 FM, Jocks, Huntsville. This is the Off the Bench College Football Show. I'm your host, Kelsey. I'll find Pop sitting opposite for me of the camera. A good, almost spring day here in North Alabama. We're jumping there. We're hurrying there, but it's still a wintry, kind of mildly cold day here in North Alabama, sitting in the 50s, trying to gain traction up to 60 degrees out here. But we're having a good Saturday morning. Just a little college football talk, college basketball talk, of course, opening day for baseball season in college as well, just the other day. And we've been talking this morning. Big Ten proposal has revealed what a 2014 college football playoff would look like. But Eli directed us toward the Trinidad-Chambliss hearing before we took a break. And discussing that a little bit further, Pops has realized that he doesn't like my position on this. And I think Eli as well is going to disagree with me too here. I have a love-hate relationship with this whole thing because I do believe the Chambliss, entertainment-wise, is a really good thing for Chambliss coming back to college football. And I think he's entertaining. I think he has the power to lead this Ole Miss team to an SEC championship. But at the same time, he's too old to be playing college football. I get that. This guy should be a pro football player.
Yeah, I mean, Kelsey, you're kind of taking the middle line on this. You're like, oh, man, this is great for college football. Oh, man, he's too old. Okay, so you're kind of taking the middle line on that. That's my impression of Kelsey, by the way. But let's seriously think about this, right? It is great from entertainment value. It gives people like me and you a lot to talk about. We can go an entire couple hours talking about this whole scenario, how it affects not only Ole Miss, but the rest of the SEC in college football. But what you really get is a grown man playing football with a bunch of college athletes. And, man, don't get me wrong. These college athletes, I don't know if you've ever been to the Walk of Champions at Bryant-Denny Stadium. These are grown men, all right? They're big boys. But there is this maturity level, okay? When you have a 26-year-old, 27-year-old person, okay, and, you're talking about, they're 8 years out of high school, all right? And then when you're playing with kids that are 19, how we celebrated last year with Ryan Williams in the last 2 years, how the kid come out as 17-year-old. Think about that, man. That was a 17-year-old putting those cornerbacks in the spin cycle. And now you're going to have a Chambliss, okay, 26, 27-year-old quarterback dropping back and throwing dimes for Ole Miss because let's just be honest, Ole Miss is going to be damn good with him.
Well, we always remember eligibility, like my generation growing up. And if you're let's say 19 or older watching this show, we were there for the days in college basketball where Devin Booker enrolled at Kentucky at 17, came out of college that same year as a freshman, played in the NBA at 19. I think he was 18.
And he was one of the youngest.
One of the youngest players, which we didn't think would ever happen because of the rules in the NBA where you have to play 1 year of college basketball to be eligible to play in the NBA. So this is a foreign concept to a lot of people my age, your age, doing this or watching from the sideline and seeing these kids not really have a direct implement on how much eligibility they actually have, because by the time your senior year rolls around, I need to go hire some lawyers so I can get some more eligibility so we can sue the NCAA for more eligibility. What there's no stopping anybody from going up there as a senior, as a redshirt senior, medical senior, COVID year, how much you want to keep going, and saying, we're going to sue for another year just because I don't want to sit in an office next year. I'd rather be making $250,000 playing college football.
Well, it's just how we live in society now, man. If you don't like something, you let the courts make a decision, or you get some judge to sign some restraining order, against the school you're playing with, against the NCAA, whatever suits you as the quote student athlete. But what happens is, if you got grown men, just like Carson Beck this year, what did he say? Classes. I hadn't been to classes in 2 years, right? So you got the NCAA talking both sides of the mouth, right? They're like, hey, these student athletes, these students, they're not students. They're grown men who are paid professionals, and they're being the minor league of the NFL.
So discussing eligibility, and this will bring me back to my high school days, because this is the first kind of moment in my life that I realized eligibility is weird, right? We'll go into it on the other side. We do have a quick break we got to take real quick. 7:30 a.m., 103.9 FM, Jocks, Huntsville, continuing on with this Trinidad Chambliss aftershock of what's happening within the NCAA. This is the Off the Bench College Football Show. Another 24 in August this year. Hold on, I gotta go.
Hey guys, for those that are joining us online, we're on our commercial break for radio. And if you're interested, we're going to come back to local Northern Alabama. Kid is probably going to go undrafted this year, you know, but they can come out eligibility, transfer between schools, high school. Played for one school to start the year and another school to finish. We're going to talk about the way these things work, right? I unmuted us, by the way. So for those that are online can hear us chatting, get to catch a real behind the scenes piece of it, what we're doing here. I'll bring it back to us on camera because we're not on right now on the radio side. What? Kelsey doesn't like this when I do this. All right.
7:30 a.m., 103.9 FM, Jocks Huntsville. This is the Off the Bench College Football Show. I'm your host, Kelsey Alfine. Pop sitting opposite of the camera from me. We've been going a little deeper in this Trinidad Chambliss situation, and I talked about a moment in high school, locally where I went here in North Alabama, where I got my first taste of what eligibility carelessness can entail. So we had this kid, and he was a highly ranked prospect coming out of Alabama, right?
Yep.
Football player. He had decided to transfer midway through the year.
So he started the
And he
school
was-
year off at one school.
Yes, he was hurt, is what we had all heard, is he was hurt. Of course, we're watching from the student section, right? And he ended up transferring officially to a different school, a better football-centered school here in North Alabama, and was immediately eligible to play the year out.
And he played.
He did play. This was my first realization of what carelessness with eligibility can do. One, it didn't kill our program that year. Obviously, we didn't have the success we could have had without him. If he didn't want to be there, fine. We get it. He didn't want to play football there. But we should not have to have dealt with the repercussions of having to play him later in the year.
Yeah, he should have not have been eligible to play that game.
So this is not a hate towards him in any way. This is more of a hate directed toward, high school football in Alabama is a mess already with all the changes and everything that's actually going on in the last couple of weeks with different districts and how that's going to roll over. Pops, I don't know how much you've seen of that.
No, I haven't.
Private schools and public schools and the whole argument behind that. But if you deal with carelessness with eligibility, there's repercussions on a lot of sides. And the repercussions that will have is now we're going further and further and further down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
The whole point of this whole thing is, why are we allowing these kids? And Eli brought this up just a little bit ago, that Trinidad Chambliss will be 24 this coming year.
It's only 24.
Mm-hmm. And I brought up the question: should you be legally allowed to play football if you've been legally been able to drink alcoholic beverages for 3 years now?
Wow, give me a break. What does it matter? Alcoholic beverage or eligibility with college football?
No, I mean, there's no direct connection, but on the surface of how that looks.
Just let me just clearly state this for the record, for the verdict, as you like to say. Okay, if we are ever on here talking about middle school kids transferring, I'm out. I'm completely stepping away. You will not see me on the radio anymore, or see me on the radio. You know, hear me on the radio. You will not see me on YouTube Live. I am completely out, because that's how bad the scenario has gotten. Let me tell you a quick story, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, this is when we lived in Maryland. Kelsey, you were just a toddler, right? I had my oldest son, and we were like 6th grade or something like that. And up there, lacrosse is the big thing, right? And these parents, man, they were like emphatic, like all these 6th grade kids walking around with lacrosse sticks. But you got to understand, lacrosse is the same way up there as it was with college football, and kids going and getting scholarships and all of these things, right? And you know, when you're talking about transferring in high school, that right there is just as much with the parents thinking about their son's future and where he's going to land in college, and looking, and that particular student athlete at the time ended up going to Ole Miss, ended up transferring to another school in Florida. Trying to sit there and think about it. I'm trying not to give names here, and I'm trying not to say names, but I'm just saying, man, even in high school, when you're transferring between schools and you end up playing the same year, right? Come on. Is that really about the spirit of the student athlete? It's not. Okay.
I mean, we've been down the rabbit hole of, can you actually, maintain grades with transferring as much as they do? Are they ever going to get an actual education from a college? Just a college, not even the college you went to, just a college. Can you maintain that? But that argument has kind of been not phased out, but I think that argument has been bled dry, and that the NCAA really doesn't care. But when we talked about this, we had gone back
Yeah.
to what their comments were specifically on the Bediako situation, and they want the government to step up and actually put some rules in place to provide some stability within the NCAA. But they haven't even been able to provide that on the bottom line. The NCAA hasn't.
Oh man, I almost went completely politics on you there for a second.
I'm not in favor of government involvement in college football.
I don't want them
at
involved
all.
in the sport that I love. I really don't. All right. I just want to, as a fan, man, I want to see good football. I want to see student athletes playing student athletes.
Well,
I don't want to see grown men playing 17 and 18-year-old kids.
Well, I had said straight up, I think what Calipari had proposed for eligibility,
5 years,
which was 5 years straight up. No more red shirts. We're done with any type of red shirt.
Yeah.
You have 5 years to play college football.
To get yourself on the court or to get yourself out on the field, right?
Yes.
5 years total.
That is,
if you're good enough, you're going to step on the court.
Yes.
Or in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have 5 years total. You can transfer one time without repercussions. If you do it again,
but that's your
you
transfer
have to
year.
sit out a year.
But that's your transfer year.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. You can transfer whenever you want. Okay. But I think NIL needs to be directly tied to it. Yeah. I think NIL needs to be completely tied to where you.
I think NIL needs to go away.
Or on the other side of it, cut out the middleman, get NIL out of the schools completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And give it straight from the product of endorsement to the athlete. Forget about the middleman, product of endorsement to the athlete. Because when that happens, you completely get rid of NIL, what Yay Alabama is for the University of Alabama.
Yeah.
You completely get rid of the $22 million, however much is in it. That's all gone.
That one fund, yeah.
Yes. NIL funds for schools, you completely get rid of it because there's no reason to have it when you have that.
Well,
there's so many. We're not doing a how do you fix college football show today. That's not what we're doing.
So let's talk a little bit more about what the Trinidad deal does for Ole Miss, right? I mean, you got your starting quarterback back, right? What does he do for that team next year? I mean,
I think Trinidad's they will compete for an SEC championship next year.
Yeah, I haven't broke down their schedule. I thought he was leaving. I know we looked at a couple of schedules last week, like Texas and Georgia and Bama and others, but I really didn't look at Ole Miss.
We'll do a complete schedule breakdown at some point here in the off season as we get a little deeper into it. But so deriving where this Trinidad Chambliss situation actually comes from and why they're actually ruling on this. So when he was at Ferris State in 2022, he was a sophomore. He was dealing with respiratory issues. He used his redshirt season in 2021 as a freshman and then missed the 2022 season while fighting respiratory issues that doctors later resolved through surgery to remove his tonsils. So on Thursday in court, Chambliss said Thursday on the stand that his Ferris State coach, Tony Anise, told him he would medically redshirt him of 2022 season. So basically, if you stub your toe, you're allowed another year of eligibility.
So I got to have my tonsils taken out, right? And that's really what it come down to.
And
he got another year of eligibility. Hey, you know what? Congratulations to the young man. I hope he takes full advantage of it. Okay. And, and I'll eat my words. If he's only going to be 24 next year, I say only, okay. That's still 6 years of college football. Right. Here I am, I'm sitting there playing, whatever. I'm talking bad about him. Bama just got a freaking outside linebacker who's playing his 7th year next year. One of the transfers, I think it was from Mississippi State. The kid that transferred from Mississippi State, he just got granted his 7th year. It may have been Ole Miss. One of Mississippi State.
Schools. I know that was Mississippi State. We have an old lineman that came in from Mississippi State.
Okay, but my point with that is all of these schools are doing it. I just think when you're looking at somebody like Trinidad, who's going to instantly be a Heisman candidate. Okay. He's going to get all the accolades that go with that. He's going to have instant media following. Ole Miss is going to be a top 10 team. Okay. Congrats, Ole Miss. You got your guy. You get him for another year. All right. Let's just see what happens when you get on the field, and let's hope the young man performs.
That's true. We want him to perform. We want him to do well this year. And I want Ole Miss to compete for an SEC championship. And I want them to beat the brakes off Lane Kiffin and those LSU Tigers.
Oh, it's going to make for a great game when LSU and Ole Miss play next year.
Oh, that'll be a game. That should be a week where it'll be treated like a party on Saturday. And that's what we're here for.
Are we in LSU or are we in the
I think they're in Oxford for that.
Okay, so Grove, the Grove?
The Grove, yeah.
The Grove. Why does that sound weird to me this morning? It just doesn't sound right in my head. All right.
7:30 a.m. 103.9 FM, Jocks, Huntsville. This is the Off the Bench College Football Show. Guys, we still got a lot of stuff to talk about this morning. Going through the Chambliss situation, but also a little bit more on the Bediako situation later on in the show as well. And then breaking down this 24-team playoff that the Big Ten has proposed. We're going to go a little bit deeper into that as well later. This is the Off the Bench College Football Show. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. 7:30 a.m. 1039 FM, Jocks, Huntsville. This is the Off the Bench College Football Show. I'm your host, Kelsey Alfine Pop, sitting opposite of the camera from me, daydreaming about college football in the 2026 season later in the year. As we longly await this long off season, waiting for college football to return upon us so we can, I guess, just have some enjoyment of watching college football.
Well, it's just the pure the energy that goes with it, the enjoyment of the tailgating at the quad and in Tuscaloosa, hanging out. We always call it, between our family, we call it brother season. That's when I spend the entire fall with my brother. My wife gets jealous of it, but hey, that's just what happens when you're a fan, right? You're fanatic about a sport that we love, and I guess we're just kind of graced to live smack dab in the middle of the heart of college football right here in the SEC.
Yeah. So we've been continuing to go on with the Trinidad Chambliss ruling and how that went this week, as he will be eligible to play in the 2026 season, likely be his last season. I hope. Likely. We never know nowadays when eligibility runs out. There's been a joke now in the playing the college football video game that in the Road to Glory mode that there should be a option at the end of your fourth season or your redshirt senior season to sue for more eligibility, and there should be an odds system based in there, and the odds system would be like 90 to 10, I think, in favor of getting another year of eligibility.
Next thing you know, you got Grandpa Chambliss playing. When you start seeing these quote student athletes sitting around with their families, and they got 10-year-olds and 6-year-olds, and they're going to the Saturday morning Pee-wee game with their kid before they actually go play their game. It's just getting out of hand. I mean, we can sit there and talk about that and talk about it. I love some of the comments, and we can't say this comment on the air, but I love some of the comments that are coming in on the YouTube side, just talking about if Ole Miss doesn't play a certain Garden Tool song by Ludacris when Kiffin comes out of the tunnel in Oxford, they'll miss a hilarious opportunity. So,
guys, this week, of course, last week, inaugural segment of the Off the Bench Verdict, and we're going to do this again later in the show on the radio side. So if you're listening on YouTube right now and you want to continue listening to the show into the second hour, you can hit us up on iHeartRadio at 7:30 a.m., 1039 FM at Jocks Huntsville. And then on the radio side, you can, of course, if you're in North Alabama, just join us on 1039 FM, Jocks Huntsville there to continue listening onto the show this morning. So the Off the Bench Verdict this week, North Dakota State is moving up to the FBS level. They have dominated the FCS. Now comes bigger budgets, deeper rosters, and different grind. What was this the right decision? Yes or no, and why? Of course, hit us up on Facebook. Let us know what you think. If you think this was a good decision by North Dakota State, or do you think it was a bad decision overall for the program? Guys, thanks for listening to us on YouTube. Of course, like, subscribe, comment, share the show. It's the best way to support this show. We thank you guys for listening. Thanks, Eli, for hitting us up this morning on the YouTube side, as well as John. Of course, everybody else that came in over there. 7:30 a.m., 1039 FM, Jocks Huntsville. We'll be right back.